Welcome. Take a look at this image. Now let's talk about Freixa and of course about Real Madrid. But this is the dream of many, and I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them, okay? This could happen to any of us, even though I haven't done what they accuse this man of. Why are they taking him away? It's in Turkey. And he's a sports journalist. No kidding. They're taking the guy away in custody. Because allegedly he made up the signing of a very well-known German footballer, Musiala, to Galatasaray. No kidding. For the first time that I can remember, they're taking a journalist away for giving out wrong information. Well, it's understood he did it knowingly, right? I mean, knowing that he was lying, right? Of course, how many times has that happened? How many have we seen here in Spain? There are a lot. People joke that everyone in Spain would be in jail and the prisons would be full. In sports and in things that aren't sports related. Oh my God. Well, that's a wet dream for many, though I'm not one of them, because of course you never really know, but that's not me, because that must be really tough, making up a story. I mean, knowing it's a lie, trying to put it out there so people will believe it, but well, it's pretty common. We see it every day, don't we? But well, this man will have to defend himself against that, right? He'll have to say it wasn't like that to get released. For now, like I said, he's been arrested. It's serious. All right, now then, let's talk about Freixa, which is unbelievably shameless. Watch out. The guy explains it. He just posted a tweet where he says, look, this is what they told me. This is what they replied to me. A lot of know-it-alls and a lot of cuckolds, he said in a tweet. He says, but no legal experts have contradicted what I'm saying here about the issue of restriction clauses. Let's examine the contradiction this gentleman makes, since he is a legal expert. I wouldn't dare to say that something he says, like in such and such code, the civil code or the penal code, it appears in such and such article, this or that article, this. And for me to say no, but not with him or with anyone who does this, no matter how much of a fool they might seem to us, okay? But, well, that's typical of Barcelona fans. I mean, they talk about what happens to them as if they hadn't done the same thing or worse or even worse. Then we'll talk about Real Madrid's midfield and about that it's a puzzle that Mourinho has, which is very difficult to solve because we're going to focus on what Mourinho should do, and we'll see how things don't add up for us. And if things don't add up, it's to see the same thing we've seen in recent years. But before this, I insist because it's delightful. Freixa telling Gerard Romero this about Julian Alvarez's release clause, because of course, since Barca wants things either for free or for very little money, or that allow them to register, well, with financial levers that later turn out to be fictitious, with permits given to them by the government, because it turns out that La Liga, which granted them those permits at the time, and the Federation too, well, now they're saying, hey, we're giving you too much already, aren't we? And of course, since they want to do everything like that, well, now the clause is already an obstacle, right? Now, since Atleti won't sell to Barca for the 100 million that Barca, in theory, though we'd have to see where they'd get it from. How can they register the player later if Gordon and De Gea aren't even registered yet? They still want Rodri, though they say he's less likely, but I think he'll still sign for Barca, right? Hey, just like Madrid. Made an offer to Atletico de Madrid, an offer nobody disputes, of 150 million, and Atleti said no. So you have to give him to me for 50 million less, right?
In Spain, there is a royal decree that regulates the employment relationship of professional athletes, which is Royal Decree 1006/85, and Articles 16 and 13 regulate how that clause must be structured and expressly prohibit abusive clauses. That's what Article 13, subsection G says. So if Julian Alvarez played that game, but of course, to play that game, what does it mean? Well, that justice doesn't move that fast. The speed required by the league or by the contractual circumstances of a soccer player in a season that's about to start, I mean, that would never be something that could be resolved immediately. He should also have support from a club that wants to sign him. It's clear that in that case, I imagine that Barca is indeed waiting for the possibility of signing Julian, but with an expiration date set by the market itself and the sporting needs. So, of course, Atletico de Madrid knows that Julian Alvarez can't play that game because the circumstances don't allow it. He's not going to spend a year in the stands waiting for a club to come and sign him for whatever amount the judge decides when they rule in his favor. Atletico de Madrid is clearly taking advantage of Julian.
Atletico de Madrid is really taking advantage of Julian now. It's unbelievable. He might be right at the core, but he can't say this, that Atletico de Madrid is taking advantage of Julian when, I mean, no, these people can't always talk like this, always playing the victim when they would absolutely do the same thing. Especially because at the core of all this, if we're talking about clauses, we have Barca's clauses too. Bernal, 500 million Valde, 1 billion Kubarski, 500 million Ter Stegen, 500 million Christensen, 500 million. Koundé has 1 billion, same as Pedri, same as Gabi. Fermin has 500 million, Lamine has 1 billion, and Rafinha has 1 billion, which are clauses that are set symbolically. But Atletico does this, Real Madrid does this too. When does this change? This changes when Barca has a guy taken away for the 222 million he had as a release clause, which was Neymar when Paris Saint-Germain takes him. And then the clubs start putting these kinds of symbolic clauses in Spain, because in England, there are no clauses. So that a club like Paris Saint-Germain doesn't come and steal your best player. Well, steal, you know? In the end, it was all stipulated. Look, if we're talking about legal matters, that couldn't have been more legal, right? And that's how it happened. Then Tebas refused to accept the clause. Remember that the lawyers from Paris Saint-Germain, or from Neymar in this case, showed up, right? Neymar's lawyers tried paying the release clause at league headquarters, but had to do it elsewhere since they couldn't there. Well, that was a circus, but it was legal. But honestly, it's amazing how these guys twist the story like this so that everything unfair is against them. I mean, here we've all accepted the clauses, even the symbolic ones. Hey, look, if Atletico de Madrid doesn't want to negotiate for that amount, besides, they're being offered 100 million and Madrid was offering 150. They're offering him 100 million and Atletico says, hey, I didn't sell this to Madrid for 150, which I insist you'd have to believe. So why would I sell it to you for 100, right? Although it's very much like Atletico de Madrid to be able to do that, right? And just wait until the end of the transfer window, right? But Freixa is right here. Hey, if maybe Julian decides to rebel, wants to take this to court, if there's an article that says that, then he can probably fight it. But of course, tomorrow it could happen to them that someone like Kubarsi wants to leave, a Koundé, and then Barca says, no, we don't negotiate for that amount, the clause, and the clause is 500 or 1,000, and then that player could also take it to court. They'll tell you no, but they don't want to leave Barca. Yeah, for now. Let's see in the future. Hey, maybe a sanction comes down on them. UEFA sanction against Barca, which they deserve, regarding the Barcelona case. Negreira, having paid the vice president of the referees for more than 20 years, 8.4 million euros. We have to repeat it to get the idea because it's already quite clear. Anyway, this, as we've already described many times, is already part of the landscape. But we have to say it again to get the idea that these people still haven't paid for it. Imagine they're going to get a sanction. God willing, I don't think it'll be this year or the next, but God willing, at some point, and the sooner the better, maybe. One of these players will say, I've got to get out of here because I want to play in the Champions League. And then the same thing happens to them. Will he come out? Freixa is about to say the same thing, right? That he can appeal, that he can rely on such and such article. Anyway, well, come on, let's talk about Madrid. Why? Is this going around? What are those news stories, man? Preseason stuff. They're wild, dude. About any of them? There's a really good one. Before the one about Camavinga, the headline is the usual kind. This preseason one about Jose Mourinho, he's been really surprised by what he's seen from Camavinga in preseason. Are they staying? Well, this has to be seen. I insist. You never know if a good offer comes in, a really good offer for Camavinga. I doubt it. Camavinga might possibly leave. I doubt it because he has already said he doesn't want to leave Real Madrid, and he has told Madrid that he wants to stay. And since we don't decide unless someone goes to his house to pressure the player, he'll stay. But anyway, there's another one, and now we'll talk about the Camavinga thing. There's another one about Bernardo Silva. Let me see if I can find it. It's amazing. In which they say that he's not a very normal guy. He's a very normal guy who has come here. And it's this one from Radio Marca. Very interesting, this about Bernardo Silva. His teammates are amazed by his quality in training. It has caught on. I understand there's audio here. He's fit in really well. In terms of character, he's a very down-to-earth guy. His relationship with Mourinho is exceptional. And the criticism, typical preseason news. Well, this Radio Marca piece says, he talks about how there are extravagant footballers there, he says, and they know among themselves what else. He's saying the Real Madrid locker room appreciates having a normal guy, not someone extravagant, join them, right? And that's what I'm saying here about how he fits into that locker room, that what we've seen in that locker room lately, above all, what's normal there is actually what's exceptional. And I'm not surprised that they see him as a different kind of person. Because, come on, a guy shows up there who dresses normally, who's just a regular person, who doesn't think he's more than what he is. And he's a great soccer player like Bernardo Silva, who must be freaking out. But anyway, back to what I was saying about Kama. Come on, I'm getting off track. So that's what would have surprised Mourinho, and that he's staying. And they're also saying that Hendrik is staying because Mourinho would have really liked him too. And Hendrik wants to leave because he sees what's happening. Mandeles closes the only opportunity he might have had to maybe fight a little for a starting spot to get more minutes, which is on the right side. And then the substitute for Mbappe, which was supposed to be him, well, they sell him, right? Gonzalo was going to be the one after Gonzalo was sold. They signed Carlos Speedy. In the center, he arrives thinking he's not going to play, but the Portuguese coach supposedly convinced him to stay. I see it as more necessary for Entre to come than for Camavinga, because honestly, with Camavinga, I lost a bit. The hope, I lost it. And it's like I was telling you the other day, right? The newspaper is from September 1st. The signing is for him to come. He has convinced the coaching staff. And now it really looks like this guy has learned the job of a central midfielder. And no, he's not going to have those tactical lapses anymore, and he's not going to lose his head or force second yellow cards and get sent off. Well, anyway, that's what they're saying. But whether that becomes reality, we'll see. But that's what I'm getting at. I do have to correct something from the last video, which you wrote to me about. Miguel didn't say Mourinho or mean Mourinho. He was referring to a short squad of 20 players. Yes. Counting the injured players, but in that interview with Real Madrid TV, Mourinho talked about the injured being like militant Militao, as they say, from your perspective. And what about the Brazilians? The other one was Rodrigo, and the other was Mendes. He didn't mention Asensio at all, whom they would like to sell, because since he's injured, at the same time, whoever you sell him to, you have to keep him. So in a squad where right now there are 26 spots filled, 25 spots filled, and you have 4 injured players, so you have 21 right now. And if Mourinho wants a squad of 20 plus the 3 who are injured, that is 23, then I still have 2 extra. One is Asensio, and the other who? Endrigo Camavinga. And they're saying that both of them have convinced him and that they want to stay, and they're going to stay. Anyway, beyond the squad issue, let's talk about the starting 11. If they have to play, that's one thing. But will it be in a Madrid-Barca, Madrid City, or Madrid-Bayern? Maybe, and it's hard for me to believe, Mourinho might think that among the surplus players up front, it could be Diomande, who is the weakest link. That's why, because he just arrived, because he's younger, 19 years old. Despite being the most expensive signing in Real Madrid's history, could Mourinho understand that in special matches, hey, I'll leave him out and then bring him on in the second half? Well, maybe. Florentino would frown. He might make a face too because, hey, I paid this much for him, but, well, it's Mourinho. Okay, fine. But in the rest of the matches, all 4 of them will have to play. And who are those 4? 4, Diomande on the right, Vinicius on the left, Mbappe, of course, up front, and Bellingham. Bellingham is taking the spot from Guller, who deserves it, but it's Bellingham. Bellingham will play, so there are 4 up front. If you have 4 at the back, I don't think Mourinho will only put 3. And if he does put 3, it's to have 2 wing backs. So with 4 at the back, you only have 2 left for the midfield or for that double pivot. Who do you put there? Who are those 2? Is Valverde going to be left out? Because you have to put Tchouaméni and Bernardo Silva, who still doesn't convince me because, I repeat, I don't want to be annoying, but Madrid needs someone who can control the tempo. It shouldn't be Tchouaméni. In any case, Tchouaméni should be a substitute or a midfield partner. If you have to put Tchouaméni and Bernardo Silva there, Valverde is left out. If you put Güler, who has earned it, Bernardo Silva is left out, Valverde is left out, not everyone will be able to play. Who are those 2 that are left? Well, by seniority in the locker room, although Mourinho doesn't play favorites. Okay, but, well, we'll have to see about that. And for many reasons, the two who are going to play there are two who are very good friends. Tchouaméni and Valverde, they're super close friends. They haven't met yet, but they're meeting today, or maybe already did yesterday, since Tchouaméni arrived then, which we hadn't mentioned. The only one who's still missing is Bellingham. They've already met up. And as far as we know, right, did they make up in a very public way or inside the locker room? We don't know, but it's just them, just those two. It's not just that it's only those two. It's that it really looks like it's going to be them. Two, because of course, I don't think you see Thiago Vitar there, who I could totally see. The kid earned it. And we don't see anyone else who could take the spot from the big heavyweights in the locker room. And there, speaking of Thiago Vitar, that's when I start to wonder about a kid who, when he came on in some of the games at the end of this season, we all loved him. We all liked him a lot. And there were people who already knew him from the youth teams and said, this kid is special. And that's Manuel Angel. Mom. A player who can play as a central midfielder, although it's impossible. And honestly, it's a fantasy to think that someone like that, Mourinho, would give him the responsibility to play as a central midfielder. That's not going to happen. He could play as a more advanced midfielder, but honestly, this guy would really be used as a supporting player, to have the same role as Thiago Vitar, to come in and out of the starting 11, to be a player who helps out. There's no room for him. There's no room for him. And this guy has exceptional quality. Do you know how old this guy is? He's already 22. 22 years old. But what's going on in Madrid's youth academy? I mean, there are two Spanish guys like him, and I refuse to believe that Manuel Angel is much worse than them, who have already won a World Cup with Spain and are 3 years younger than him. But what's happening in Real Madrid's youth academy? Seriously. Yes, some of you will say, no, of course. Damn, Joan Martinez is playing now in preseason and he's only 18 years old. Okay. There are very few cases like that. But normally, look at Gonzalo. Gonzalo is also 22 or 23 years old and he's already had to leave. But why do these footballers, of course, at 22 years old, they're almost the same age as Bellingham. Manuel Angel is almost the same age as Bellingham, the same age as Güler. But of course, one came from abroad, and so he had to play, and Güler is very good. Let's not even talk about Mas Mastantonio, who had to leave, but was already starting for Real Madrid at 18 years old. And this guy is in Castilla. And there hasn't been any talk about a loan or a sale with a possible buyback. I mean, with 50% rights and a possible future purchase, none of that has been discussed. And he's a guy who should leave. If he doesn't have a spot at Madrid or a number, he won't get one. He should leave and play now because he's very good. Well, it's Castilla. It's about the player who really amazes me because of Real Madrid's youth academy policy, how they keep developing them until they're at an age where, it's like when you have to kick your almost 30-year-old son out of the house. Come on, get out of here, damn it, and go make a life for yourself, right? Well, this is the same, but it's just hard to understand. It's hard to understand. Still, I hope he stays with Castilla because next year we'll have a 23-year-old kid from Castilla as a prospect. No, damn it. He'll be 23 soon. Well, in March. He's going to turn 23 this season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have a great day and like this post. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and hype up the video. It really helps the channel keep growing. We're at 129,000, almost 900, and we're about to reach 130,000 very soon. So, well, I encourage you to do it. And as always, thank you. Bye.